Greetings, honorable members. The time is now 9 o'clock. We're scheduled to start.
Recording in progress.
And I take it that we've got the required numbers to start the meeting, as would be joined by other members later on. Can that be confirmed?
Morning, Chairperson. We have the required numbers. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me then also greet, I saw the minister is on platform, as well as civil society structures that I've seen on the platform. Fellow South Africans who are following us on the platforms that Parliament makes available for them to follow the deliberations of this committee. As we start, honorable members, I'll just deal with the formalities. We already know that we do have the numbers to proceed, but that we get the apologies that would have been received for the purposes of record before we engage on the rules.
Morning, Chairperson. We have apologies from the Deputy Minister, DCDT, and also Ms. Mazoni. Thank you, Chairperson.
We've got an apology from the Deputy Minister, DCDT, and the Honorable Mazoni. Those are the apologies. May I just check if fellow members would have apologies that may have not reached the committee support for purpose of record? Are there any apologies that may have not been recorded? I don't seem to get any indication. I take it therefore, honorable members, that we approve of the apologies that have been received by the committee, and that from that we can proceed. Just a reminder on the rules of engagement on virtual platforms as approved by the National Assembly, that we are required as members and all participants that are on the platform at all times to ensure that our mics are muted and a video camera off until you are recognized by the chairperson at the time to speak. Once recognized, you'll then proceed to unmute your mic and switch on your video camera. In a situation where you experience network connectivity challenges, you will indicate for the permission of the chairperson to switch off your video camera so as to maximize your bandwidth. From time to time, we may have those that lose connectivity and have to reconnect back to the meeting. That as you do that, please ensure that your video camera is switched off and your mic is muted, as mics are sensitive and could therefore pick up background sounds that may distract the speaker that may be on the platform or disrupt the meeting in that way. Honorable members, whilst point of orders are allowed in terms of the rules, you are also advised that you would still have to keep your mic muted and your video camera off. Raise your hand in your gadget. The committee support will also assist if the chair is unable to recognize the hand. Once then you are recognized, you'll then proceed to unmute your mic and your video camera switched on, proceed to raise the point of order on which the chairperson could rule upon in terms of the rules. We are further guided, honorable members, that we do not raise unnecessary point of orders to a point of collapsing the meeting on this platform. So those are the basics that should help us to proceed with our meeting qualitatively so. I would therefore, honorable members, as I formally welcome and officially opening the meeting, as I ask the committee support to also flight the agenda so that as I explain other things, at least you do understand how we are going to proceed. With regards to the reports, the first item would be, of course, the Minister and SITA on performance-related matters around the entity. I'm sure honorable members would remember that this is the request of the committee to have time dedicated to engage with SITA. Of course, the other reports, I have engaged with the committee support, including the content advisors, that would defer those reports for an adoption next week and allow quality time to engage on the SITA matter. But it's also to give them an opportunity to conclude the reports qualitatively, as other information would have been received quite late. But over and above that, honorable members would remember that we have had a very hectic week. We had 2 days of presentations, and as well we needed to prepare for a fiscal meeting on the same Friday in that week, where we were dealing with deliberations on the appointment process of ICASA and the MDDA. So we can confirm that at least in those meetings, we have been able to conclude the matter of the filling of vacancy in ICASA as far as the committee is concerned, and the 3 vacancies in the MDDA in as far as the committee is concerned, and those reports will go to the House. So the support, therefore, is received from the same people who need to also produce those quality reports for the committee to adopt. So given that all those reports are committee reports, we'll be able to adopt them. But I've given a deadline that at least from the part of the chair, I should be seeing those reports the latest by Thursday, so that by Friday, the members would receive the reports, process them thoroughly over the weekend, so that when we meet, it makes the meeting easier. We thought it's important, members, to do that so that we are not pressurized to adopt observations and recommendations that binds us when we have not processed the matters adequately, given the time of receipt of such reports. I hope that members agree that that's really a proper approach, because this will be our last BRRR that we're doing this term, and our recommendations and observations form part of a legacy report that would leave behind. And therefore, qualitatively, the report should show that and us adopting such recommendations. So I thought I should deal with this right in the beginning, so that as we engage the minister at SITA, it's understood that we wanted to have also qualitative engagement with the minister and the entity, as the committee would have requested. We've done the same with the SABC previously, and of course we'll do the same with Postbank and SAPO on those dedicated meetings to deal with such entities. So that's really my opening remark and a way of directing the meeting in this regard going forward. I hope, Honorable Minister, you are able to hear that we are going to be focusing on that first item. Of course, members on that item have received presentations from SITA. But as we usually do, would give an opportunity to you, Minister, to do an overview, an introduction of the items. It also helps you to take the committee and the South African on other matters that may be of interest to the public with regard to the portfolio. So which therefore says that it's not just limited to the lines that presented by SITA. So it's an important space to make us into conflict so that we don't see other matters in the media and be shocked and member of the public. So would give the minister that opportunity. Thereafter, we want SITA to thorough in its presentation so that some of the ideas as put there in the report be better clarified for members. So after you, Minister, will then give about 45 minutes to SITA to go through issues directed by yourself. Of course, we'll manage the time as we move forward and now qualitative engagement by members. With that, you can come in. The Honorable Minister Kungubele, who come.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, our country at large, and everyone who's properly in attendance. I'm accompanied by the SITA, who are the key players today, led by the chair, Mr. Kerubin. I'll try to be short, Chair, so that they just get to the real issues. As per the agenda item of the meeting, Chair, we are gathered here for Portfolio Committee to receive a briefing on governance, which is a tradition on the SITA. From the onset, I would like to indicate that during the recent AGM, I convened with the board. I did register my disappointment in as far as the targets, which were 44%, 2022-23, was as compared to what happened in 2022-21, 2020-21, and 2021-22, which was 72% and 57% respectively. I actually expressed my displeasure, but though having said that, I was pleasantly happy, I was pleasantly okay with the organization that for realizing a surplus for the year of 450 million, which is 3.21% higher than the net surplus of 436 million realized in the previous financial year. It indicates that the agency is in a good financial space and in as far as compared to other challenges relating to service delivery. But I do want to say, Chair, I've spoken to the team that they can do better. It's a good position, they can do better. I'm saying this because they themselves have honestly accepted that analyzing the government spend on the IT and what is the capital market share of the SITA, they can do better than that, because to have 7.5 billion market share in a space of 100 billion spent, it means a lot of work. But what heartens me is that the board is committed to earn the respect of government in as far as being the preferred service provider. Honorable members, the agency has, however, shared information with the department that it has put a number of mitigating plans in order to deal with these challenges, especially those affecting government department service delivery matters. And this includes the 90-day plan, and they will be doing some presentation here, and then for committee to interrogate. In order to assist the organization, I had to appoint a board of highly competent professionals, which was actually recommended to the cabinet, and cabinet approved that appointment. The board had been tasked to improve the agency's performance in the current financial year. This is underpinned by the resolution of the audit findings and improvement in the control environment, as the chair might be aware. Honorable members, we make the point that ICT remains the greatest area of opportunity for improving availability and efficiency of the provision of government services to our citizens. However, evidence is clear that adoption and use of ICT has been rather haphazard and uncoordinated, a matter we have to improve as quick as possible. These prevailing circumstances have already been blamed on the poor performance of SITA. That's why, consequently, a need to remodel SITA is long overdue. And the MD and the board will actually, I expect them to share that with us. Honorable members, you will also receive today a presentation by MD on the platform strategy, which will deal with the matter I've already stated, which I consider very fascinating, having interfaced with it, as it responds to SITA remodeling and equally ensuring that South Africa benefits from the digital economy. Before the strategy, SITA was panel beating systematic issues on service delivery and innovation. However, the strategy will seek to do the following: to enhance citizens' access to how to enhance citizens' access to digital services, how to improve efficiency and effectiveness of government operations through creating singular marketplace for sourcing and selling products inclusive of SMEs, how to ensure security and privacy of citizens' data, how to foster innovation and digital scale. The key challenge we are confronted with, which I think SITA seems to demonstrate to be equal to it, is that I was having a session even with the DG this morning that the Department of Digital Technology leading on the technology, which is the modern technology, to secure South Africa's trading partner status globally, is an area where we need to lead differently than we do now. We need to be on the cutting edge in as far as various other sectors are concerned, in actually taking a step forward in as far as being able upfront to have a sense of what opportunities are there and what will make our country competitive. And there is no other department that can do that for all sectors, whether it's transport, automotive, whether it's agriculture, and various other sectors. So we are working on that, Chair, and that's why, amongst other things, we have adopted the master plan on the digital economy. We implement instead of being caught up in a mode of being planning and producing new strategies. And we hope with this implementation mode, we'll be able to see the needle moving. Having said that, honorable members, I would like to take this opportunity and head over to SITA as led by the chair to actually take the committee through, if you so indulge, Chairperson. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. SITA, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to put my video on for a second. Chair, just in terms of an intro, as far as SITA is concerned, we will reflect on our 6-month achievement. It's primarily been focused on escalation management. There's been quite a number of topics that we've been dealing with. It's supposed to focus on customer engagement, internal process review, and our partnership evolution. All of those are short-term actions, primarily intended to stabilize SITA. And one of the key themes that will come out, which MD will go through in detail, is we've seen our APP evolve from year-end of 44%, which we looked at last week, and already some of the actions being done gives us the potential to get to 64%. And with another 5 months left in the year, we have every expectation and desire to get to above somewhere between 80 and 100% of our APP targets. The second presentation will cover our audit plan. We have had quite a traumatic year-end, and in essence, SITA has got its 4th qualified audit. A detailed audit plan has been crafted with specific dates and specific actions. It's been grouped thematically so that we try and focus on the root causes. and our audit and risk committee tracks that every month. So what gets measured gets managed. So we're tracking that quite intensively. MD will be able to take us through the gory detail. The last presentation we'll focus on is SITA's focus, or SITA's reorientation, repurposing. SITA's always been focused on procurement. We're adding to that procurement by looking at our mandate and focusing on the public, services to the public, focusing on security, and focusing on government efficiency. Those are three key words that come out of our two-sentence mandate. Our main focus is not so much on strategy redefinition. We're building on the strategy that's been crafted since 2013, be it Fourth Industrial Revolution, the eGov strategy. The SITA focus is primarily on implementation. And to do that, we're extending our ecosystem, working better with partners, lots of engagement with customers, and trying to make sure we take our staff along with it. But MD has got all the detail and he will share that. So through you, Chair, I will hand over to MD. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members of the Portfolio Committee and all in attendance, all protocol observed. Chairperson, with your permission, I'd like to continue on to share my screen from my side because there are three presentations. It just makes it easier to navigate from my end. So with your permission, Chairperson, if I can share my screen.
You've been given rights to share. Thank you.
Please proceed then to share.
Thank you very much. So, Chairperson, the purpose of the presentations today have already been quite well covered by the Honourable Minister and also the Chairperson. Just in a high-level summary, there's three presentations that build on a storyline and respond to the topic of the day, which is looking at governance and performance matters at the State Information Technology Agency. So the first presentation will be related to performance, specifically around the first 6 months or the first 2 quarters of the new financial year. If members remember, I came physically with members of the board to the Portfolio Committee when we had it in Cape Town on the 1st of May. And during the 1st of May presentation, we spoke to the 90-day plan, which was meant to stabilize the operations within SITA so that we can start to see client centricity being brought in, employee wellness, and also being able to improve performance. So that is the first presentation that we'll go through, members and share. The second presentation will then respond to the issues around governance matters. As has already been seen, that we had a qualified audit opinion in the last financial year, and it's been so for the last 4 financial years in a row. And so we had to put together an audit action plan that responds to those challenges around governance and how to improve the failing controls that we've had in the SITA environment. And then the last presentation then takes us forward, which is much more forward-looking around how we want to approach transformation of the state from a digital transformation perspective, and how we'll repurpose SITA to be that change agent that can help us with the digital transformation journey. So those are the three presentations, Chairperson. I'm going to go through them one by one and then take questions at the end just to make it a bit more efficient, Chair, with your permission. So the first one, Chair, I've already stated that in 1 May, we presented to the Portfolio Committee on the plan that we had to stabilize SITA. And the main focus areas of that plan were around creating a client-centric organization, strengthening internal business processes, fostering a culture of partnership, investing in key technologies, and then looking at how we can partner more effectively going forward. So to date, some of the initiatives in the 90-day plan have been achieved, which is what I will go through now in detail. So Chairperson, at the top there is the themes that we actually presented in that 90-day plan. And then on the left-hand side are the challenges that we also spoke to in detail. And then in the middle there is just the plans that were discussed, and then the results of some of those plans. So I'll try and touch on them at a high level, Chair. There's quite a few of them, and I'll highlight the key areas that I think are of importance for this committee. So the first one that we spoke to and the committee was concerned about was a lack of understanding of client priorities and delivery of projects, which was inadequate. There was three things that we had promised we would do. The first one was to have detailed client engagements. So I've had detailed engagements with various structures at the GTO level, at the FOSAT level, and also meeting with the various DGs across provinces and also at a national level. And these engagements have resulted in us finding each other a lot more to understand what the challenges are and how we can then meet each other to try and resolve them. We also then formalize what we call a client PMO, which is a PMO that seeks to bring together all the various projects that are client related across SITA to try and formalize it so that it's presented in one format, so that we know for the top clients, what are the key projects, what are the things that we are struggling with in terms of delivery, so that we can also be able to intervene. We also established what we call a client exco. A client exco is an exco that is wholly focused on client issues to make sure that any escalation that comes from our clients, especially those that we've deemed to be a high priority, but also things that are starting to repeat, get addressed at an exco level, so that people are tasked from that level and held accountable for the resolution of that particular issue. Now, through this structure, Chair, we've seen quite a number of issues that have been escalated in various ways within the SITA environment start to get resolved. And this is something that we continue to monitor. We have on a monthly basis, and we continuously improve on as we get issues raised from our clients. It's also about looking forward in terms of a strategic approach to go for this particular client or this particular cluster. What are some of the solutions that we can start to propose to them proactively, so that we can start to have conversations that are much more forward-looking with our clients, as opposed to simply reacting to some of the issues that they continuously raise with the SITA. To follow up on that as well, we also revamped our digital advisory and consulting approach. We've had a digital advisory function within SITA. However, this was quite in the background and not something that clients were engaging with quite a lot. And so what we've done is start to make clients aware that this function is available and they can make use of it. In fact, because of that effort now to raise that awareness of that, we've received quite a number of requests to come and help clients with their digital transformation strategies, for example, with the Office of the Chief Justice, because of the efforts that we've made to make it aware to our clients that we can also play an advisory role in terms of what it is that they need to achieve in their functions. We also presented, Chairperson, if you remember, the customer satisfaction index, which, as we stated then, was below index. So our target for the last financial year was to have client satisfaction at around 60%. We managed around 55%. But even that, the target of 60% is way too low. It needs to be 80% and higher as per industry standard. So what we've been doing, Chairperson, is then starting to implement those initiatives in that implementation plan that comes from that recommendation of that CSI initiative that we did. And these are some of the things that you see at the top here. Some of them actually come from the recommendations coming from this plan. Now, in terms of the remodeling of SITA, if you look at the second function there around strengthening internal business excellence, we have actually prepared a cabinet memo, as the minister has mentioned, and we'll speak to the third presentation that I will come to around how we would like to then take the country forward from a digital transformation perspective, and how we would like to position SITA to assist in doing that. So this is something that we have done and will be presenting in this session, as we had promised in the meeting on 1 May. The other challenge that we spoke to was difficulty attracting skills and into the SITA environment. And what we've done is we've looked at our human capital environment and looked at the various initiatives that we need to launch to help us to start to turn around that trend from a skills attraction and retention perspective. So we launched quite a few things, Chairperson, with respect to that. The first one was we appointed a headhunting agency to help us to get 100 of top engineers from the market. So these are computer scientists, data scientists, and the like, to come into the SITA environment to bolster our skills across the whole host of areas. And this is something that we expect will bolster the capabilities that we have across a whole number of areas within the SITA environment. So this is something that we are busy executing, Chair, to try and bring in that renewal. The next one is around revision of various ACM policies, including those of retention, those of skills attraction, remuneration, and the like, to ensure that these can be much more aligned to what is standard within the tech industry. And this is something, Chair, that is going through the approval process currently in the SITA environment. We also launched a culture campaign based on the efforts that we have made. In fact, around June, we went away with the entire leadership of SITA to look at how we will then take this organization forward based on where things were, then. We had some honest conversations, some deep reflections around the failings in the environment, and most of it had to do also with the culture that had been created within SITA, a culture of fear, a culture of intimidation, a culture of not necessarily working, to the best of one's ability. And we crafted values. These values that were crafted there were then turned into a culture program, which we have launched as of July. This culture program, Chairperson, runs from the EXCO to every single layer within the organization. And every single HOD or leader or manager in the organization is expected to attend that session with his team, his or her team, to ensure that we can inculcate these values. This is something, Chair, that we believe will begin to create a wave of renewal within the SITA environment, and it starts right from the top. Even I have to attend these culture sessions. The last one, Chair, is the challenges that we've had with respect to hiring our EXCO. As you know, Chairperson, in the last session, the committee was quite concerned that there were a number of vacancies that are vacant within the SITA executive structure. For example, the executive of risk, executive infrastructure, and the like. And there was concern around how do we make sure that we can, bring in the right people to bolster that. The other concern was to ensure that we had the right mixture from a gender perspective within the leadership structure of the SITA environment. And this one, Chairperson, is one that has proven to be quite a challenge. I think we have to do a lot more to change the culture and perception of working in the public sector overall, but also in the SITA in the main. As many people have expressed concern to say, are they risking their careers? Are they risking their well-being by joining an organization such as the SITA? We've had, for example, the interviews for the executive of infrastructure. We had it 3 times over and not finding a person. Every time that there was a suitable person, they would then express concern to say they're not sure if they should join, and it would end there. So this is something, Chair, that we are focusing on with the new board to say, how do we then revamp this and change that perception and ensure that we can attract the right people that are skilled and have expertise in this area that can bring the right culture required to run a tech organization. We also spoke, Chair, around the SITA tender processes that were largely manual and slow. And I think if you remember at that time, we said that we will engage in an effort to significantly automate that environment in a big way. And one of the things that we've done, Chair, is we've done, as we promised, an upgrade of the procurement system, so the procurement module within our environment. That is something that is done. The second thing that we're doing is we've brought in a third party, a vendor, to help us to then automate across that entire environment within the ACM space. So they're currently on the ground now doing the automation. The third thing that we wanted to do, Chairperson, was around making sure that those automations are customized to fit and align to SITA's procurement policies so that we can ensure that we can move a lot faster in terms of how we deliver on procurement. Another thing that we had not mentioned, Chair, but we also, so it wasn't in the plan, but we also achieved is around tracking. What we've done is with our ITSM team, we've automated the dashboards that track every single procurement inside the pipeline in SITA. So right now, anyone within SITA can be able to log into that platform and see where the procurement is, what is the latest comment, what is the issue if there is a delay, and the like. One of the things that are in our APP within this share is to also enable that portal to be available to our clients so that clients can be able to log in directly using a reference number to be able to track where their procurements are within the process. And we believe that this intervention, once it's done within this financial year, will go a long way to alleviating some of the challenges that our clients feel with regards to the procurements, because once someone knows where something is, it takes a lot of the anxiety away in terms of what needs to happen. The next one was around the perception of our clients, where they only saw SITA as a procurer of ICT and not a strategic advisor. I think I've already spoken to how we've made much more visible the advisory and consulting function within SITA, and to ensure that we speak about that when we engage with our clients. But we've also developed a brand revitalization plan that we've been executing over the last 6 months, Chair. I've done probably about 10 interviews on TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, and the like, just to talk about the SITA brand and how we are repositioning that so that we can be much more attractive, not only to clients, but to the public. We've also had a successful GovTech where we, again, spoke to the SITA brand to make sure that we can engage industry, engage the public. One of the things that for me was quite amazing about GovTech was the number of young people that were there for the first time to come into that GovTech and engage with the SITA and the partners and clients that were there, which was quite good. The other one, Chairperson, that we spoke to was around the products that were cited as expensive and not cost effective as clients. So what we've done, Chair, is we've revised the pricing model. And we've also then looked at two things: the SITA rates and tariffs, which have been updated and approved by the board and are now sitting in the relevant structures up to National Treasury for them to be effected. And we can give more details on that. The CFO is online. We can speak to that. But that is in response to the challenge that we've had around the ineffective pricing. This is just a short-term measure, Chair. You will see in the future direction that we even want to be in the 90th percentile from a pricing perspective when it comes to how we are competitive given the market. The next one was around fostering a culture of partnership. So we had said we don't have an effective framework for partnership within the SITA environment. And so what we've done now is we've developed a framework for partnership, and we've started engaging with potential partners across the environment to ensure that we can understand where we could partner, where we have deficiencies that we could leverage off of in a value share way to enable us to be able to move faster in terms of what we need to deliver. The next one that we had spoken to was around making sure that the panels in procurement were renewed. If you remember, Chairperson, one of the concerns that were raised by one of the members of the committee was around the very late panels that were not refreshed. Can I proceed, Chairperson?
Please proceed. ICT do help us to mute people that just open up their minds. It's disruptive. Proceed, MD.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. In terms of the panels and transversals that were quite outdated, where suppliers were complaining that we don't have opportunity to participate in them because the ones that had expired, we kept on renewing on a month-to-month basis. So we had committed to doing 7. The only reason why this one is yellow is because we managed 5, but we do believe that we'll meet the target that we set for ourselves for the whole year to refresh the panels that are there. In fact, some of the key ones that already been refreshed is 1183, which was quite dated at that time. It was refreshed around June, and then 740 as well, which was recently refreshed. In terms of the challenge of SMME and industry participation, we had planned to have an industry day and an SMME day at SITA. I did personally meet with representatives of about 10,000 SMMEs at Gallagher Convention Center to talk about how they engage with SITA and how we can better work together with the various associations. I did also with the Deputy Minister during GovTech also engage SMMEs in that conversation there, which was quite positive. The next one was around strengthening our collaboration with SOEs, and what we've done since then. In fact, we met with the DG of Innovation and Technology, Dr. Mjwaha, where we said we need to partner much more closely with the SITA to ensure that some of the innovations that CSR has built, we can actually leverage and be able to use together. CSR has actually built quite a lot of capability around, that had to speak with the area of ICTs that one can be able to leverage. So we have since then signed an MOU with the CSR. I am in constant talks with Dr. Tulani, who is the CEO of CSR, in terms of how we can then take this partnership forward. There's quite a number of areas that are in that MOU that are contained there that can help us as a SITA to be able to fast track how we deliver things going forward. So this is part of the efforts that we have put in place to be able to engage and partner and collaborate much more closely with our SOE counterparts. The last one was just speaking to cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is quite an important topic, Chairperson, and I think was one of the things that were raised as a concern. One of the things that will be quite important going forward and we'll be investing more into is the Security Operations Center, which SITA has built in-house. This capability is for SITA and also for government for security monitoring. So this enables us to be able to monitor in real time all the cyber threats that are coming into other SITA or a specific government department. This has already been launched in the Department of Health, Education and Training. And we've also right now busy installing it in the presidency. And we've had quite a number of clients that have shown interest in getting the Security Operations Center installed in their own environment. As you will see, Chairperson, going forward, this is part of our greater efforts in building a universal command center that can give us a view of operations across government in the back and front so that we can know what the government efficiency is. So this is quite an important one that has been launched. And right now what we're doing is we are busy engaging clients so that we can be able to scale it going forward. We've further done, we are busy with security assessments. We've committed to doing 100 government departments within this year. Where again, we are on target with that one. And we're also doing cybersecurity awareness campaigns, again, across a whole number of stakeholders within the government environment. Chairperson, I'm going to stop here. There are a few other things that are there as well, but I think the point has been made to say what we had promised to do at that point, by and large, we have done. And I think what I want to then speak to here is whether those interventions have made any impact in terms of performance or corporate performance. So when I joined on 1 April, this was the performance at the SITA. It was sitting at 44%. We started to make these plans because we presented around May. So we spent the month of April just understanding the challenges then in the environment and what plans we need to put in place to assist us to be able to turn around the performance. So by the end of Q1, performance had ticked up slightly to 50%. And at the end of Q2, it was just below 64%. So we do believe, Chairperson, that these plans are starting to bear fruit to try to stabilize the organization, bring in a culture of client centricity and focus on employees to ensure that we can deliver on our mandate, which again is around public, government efficiency and cybersecurity. So Chairperson, I'm going to stop it there in terms of the first presentation. I now want to go to the second presentation, which is speaking to the SITA Audit Action Plan. And this is in response to, again, one of the purposes of this meeting, which is to look at governance-related challenges within the SITA environment. So the way that we'll go through it is we'll look at the Audit Action Plan in context. We've identified a whole host of issues that have led to the qualification in the last few years. But we've also synthesized, we've gone one step further in synthesizing what are the key focus areas for improvement, and then what were the root causes that caused those issues to come up. We then devise an audit action plan, and then we also focus on some general areas for improvement. So from an audit action plan perspective, the process that we followed is to sit down, have a workshop with the leadership and also other leaders in the organization, managers, to identify the issues. We then synthesize them into those focus areas, and then we unpack those focus areas into root causes, which is what we did here, so that we can then focus on actions that actually address root causes, and as opposed to just a symptomatic addressing of the issues. which is part of the challenges that we've seen in why we've had repeat findings in the past. It's not that people were not working or addressing issues, they were addressing issues, but the AG can never ask you, they don't ask you necessarily the same question every single time. And so you have to address root causes so that you don't end up with the same areas of qualification year on year. So what we did is we then underlined issues that we found in our analysis, such as clear processes and procedures that were not integrated. There were no effective cascading to lower levels. So, for example, in certain cases, there would be the right operating procedure, but if you go level 2 to level 3 and even level 4, sometimes you would find that things become a bit more vague. So, for example, to account for a particular transaction at one level may seem like it is this way, but actually because of if it's a new transaction or if it's an SLA or a renewal, you have to account it slightly differently. And it was found out that at certain levels, Chair, those things were not clear, and therefore staff would make mistakes, which would make it very difficult to then justify later on to the AG. There would be no correct documentation, which made it challenging to then verify those transactions. And in some cases, Chair, especially when it came to SEPs, there were deviations that the team would apply. So there would be deviations from the standard operating procedure in hopes of speeding up the process and assisting the client much faster. But in the end, those things ended up hurting us because now you haven't followed all the procedures, you don't have all the right documentation, which then makes it very difficult to justify the transaction before the AG. We also had quite a lot of limitations of scope due to information not being provided timeously. And again, it speaks to the same challenges here around the number of processes that were not clear and records that were not necessarily created at the right time. And so colleagues had to then go manually find documentation across a whole number of systems, which would not be within the timeline that the AG would have given for those RFIs. And so what had happened is it led to a limitation of scope, which means that the AG could not then thoroughly interrogate those specific records. Standard operating procedures were not always being followed. Standardization of information requested. This is again speaking to the issues around how things were stored and how procedures were developed and the like. And what we've done is we've then synthesized all of those issues into clear focus areas, which is those ones that you see on the right-hand side. I won't go into them for the sake of time. But the point is we followed a very clear procedure from UNISA. UNISA actually wrote a report around why, firstly, public sector organizations, especially municipalities and some SOEs, end up being in qualification areas. And then they showed the process of how you get to then the key focus areas and root causes to ensure that you can address those effectively. This slide here just shows in context the issues of limitation of scope, but effectively there were over 30,000 documents that the AG had requested over the audit period, which again, if you don't have your records management, your business processes, and the linkages there defined, you can imagine how the team will then have to run around, try and link up various documents from various systems, which obviously will not give them enough time to respond to the AG effectively. So this is just to show you what some of those issues led to on the ground, which led to limitations of scope. So from a root cause perspective, it was effectively these three. It's business process management, it's records management, and it's the linking of the business processes to specific records at the right level so that for every single transaction, you're always clear what is the process across business units, and then also what are the records that need to support those specific transactions so that you are able to justify them in front of the AG. So now in terms of the audit action plan, what we did is we then built up the plan based on the qualification areas. So you'll see that the qualification areas are actually very clearly listed there. What key focus areas it falls under. So is it business process management? What is the solution? And then what is the detailed steps to be able to address the solution that's required to address this key area of qualification, and very clear timelines. And you'll see, Chair, that across all these key focus areas, there are quite a number of qualification areas that they support, which again, we've proposed very detailed plans around how we then finalize those. We've also gone a step further, Chairperson, in terms of defining then general issues that are over and above those specific core ones that the team are busy addressing. These are issues then to support the delivery of the audit action plan. For example, the plan must be shared with the AG and workshop with them so that they can help us to track that. The second one is to establish a project champion. So we've appointed someone as a project champion for this project. We've called them an audit project champion to ensure that the organization can take this seriously and have someone that can walk the floor and understand whether those things are being implemented that have been promised. I've set up a monthly steerco within my office to monitor the progress of the audit action plans. There's also, of course, issues around training, which we'll do. They're not root causes. They are more support areas to further bolster the plan being finalized appropriately. We've also roped in our internal audit team to say, can they start auditing according to this plan and in this way so that we don't end up in an area of qualification? Because in all these times where we've had qualifications, internal audit had been there, but these issues have not been raised. So can we be aligned to this as well so that we can start to audit in that same way as the AG is expecting so that we can improve internally before the AG comes in and then tells us that we have not improved in some specific ways. There's then obviously issues around irregular expenditure. The CFO later, when we answer some questions, can go into more detail around the investigations we've done, excuse me, and concluded with respect to irregular expenditure and where there needs to be litigation. There is litigation that we are doing in terms of material irregularities. So, Chairperson, what this demonstrates is that we are clear on what the issues were that led to the audit findings, but not just the issues, the root causes as well that actually led to that. Because it's one thing to be clear on the issues, but if you're not addressing root causes, it's very easy for you to do a lot of things and then those things then reappear again. So we're also addressing the root causes to ensure that we don't end up in the same place again. So that's the second presentation, Chairperson, that speaks to governance issues and how we turn around the situation around the qualified audits. The third and last presentation, Chair, is then around how we take SITA forward. What is our approach to digital transformation in the state? So the first presentation was around how to stabilize in the short term the SITA performance, which we've demonstrated that we've begun to do that. The second one is around how we respond to issues of governance and consequence management with respect to audits. And we've spoken to that, the plan in that detail. This one now is around how we go forward. How do we go forward as the SITA, and what is our approach to ensuring that we can transform the state in terms of digital transformation? Now, I think with this one, we have to start again with the SITA mandate. The SITA mandate has always been about three key things. It's about being public facing, so speaking to citizens. It's about efficiency. So what is the efficiency of government departments? And it's about security. How do we make sure that all the services that are public facing or all the services that are there to improve government efficiency are done so in a secure manner, in a safe and secure manner? That is effectively the mandate that SITA has always had. Now, what we've done is we've analyzed various strategies within government. So if you look at the e-government strategy, if you look at our own SITA e-government strategy, the national e-strategy from DCDT, as well as a whole host of others within the SITA environment. For example, we've looked at the Presidential Commission on the Fourth Industrial Revolution and the like. And all of these things, Chairperson, are quite consistent in the message that they are saying. And what we are saying is there's a great deal of thought that has gone into these, and we don't necessarily want to redo that work. For us, the challenge has never been really the thought leadership. The challenge has been execution. So there's a great deal of consistency across all of these strategies. What has not happened, Chair, if you look across all of these strategies, is none of them have been executed to the end. There's very few completion rate in terms of how these strategies have actually been completed or executed effectively. And so if you think about problem statement, what is the problem statement that we're facing if you think about public facing, government efficiency, and security? It's rising public service costs, and backlogs in service delivery. It's a lack of easy access to government services. It's lack of or insufficient integration of operational processes. It's government departments having low levels of digital maturity. It's silos in the way that we approach the digital transformation within government. It's lack of capacity by departments to deliver on their initiatives, and it's a lack of security or cybersecurity government systems. And the value proposition that we have to bring to ensure that we respond to these problem statements is still around enhancing citizens' access to digital services, improving efficiency and effectiveness of government operations, and ensuring that security and privacy of citizen data. And those first three, Chairperson, should look very familiar because those are exactly what is in the SITA mandate. We've also added two more here, which the Minister has spoken about. One is around fostering innovation and digital skills. If we don't bring in new skills and innovation into the SITA, it will not work. We'll not be able to achieve any of these recommendations that we put at the value propositions. And then the last one is ecosystem development. SITA exists within an ecosystem. We are not just an island on our own. We exist within an ICT ecosystem within this country. And so for us is to understand, how do we start to leverage that ecosystem so that we can, for the benefit of the public sector, for the benefit of citizens, for the benefit of government departments. So SITA is in an ecosystem. And so how do we leverage that as a value proposition for our clients? If you think about it, again, citizen and government as the two primary actors that the SITA is delivering to. From a citizen perspective, citizens are only really looking for, these things. They're looking for faster, better, and smarter things. They want government on a smartphone so that they can be able to access services where they are, as opposed to having to queue for a particular service. And those services that they want to access on a smartphone are quite clear. They either want to apply or register for something like a new passport or license. They want to submit something, perhaps as proof or submitting supporting information and documentation. They want notification that something has arrived or something has been approved or something can be collected. They want to be able to pay for specific services as you renew something. They want to be able to engage with government and talk and have their complaints and queries heard. They want to be able to learn about new information, perhaps learn about how to best engage this government department, or learn about a new skill with regards to e-learning. They want secure services. So this is what citizens are looking for. It is a very clear thing what citizens are looking for. It's around government being much more smarter and available where they are, in smartphones, in kiosks, in other available media that they can access on a day-to-day basis. And from a government requirements perspective, again, the requirements are quite clear. Government departments want more choice. They want to be able to compare solutions. Right now, the process that we follow in terms of tender, go on for 12 months and get awarded and you get one option. You're not involved in that process whatsoever. In a world where technology changes every 3 months, you can't have a tender that lasts a year. It just doesn't make any sense. Clients want to be able to compare solutions so that they know which one is the one that is much more suitable for what they are looking for. They want simplicity of solutions. It must just work, just like the apps on their smartphone. They want to be able to buy in real time, a much more faster procurement regime that doesn't take months and months on end for them to be able to start to see the impact. They want fair, transparent, and competitive pricing that is in the 90th percentile with respect to industry. And I think, Chair, you would have heard these complaints. It was raised last time on the 1st of May, but also from my various client engagement to say SITA is too pricey because we are comparing you to the industry. So what does that look like for us to respond to that and being much more competitive? They want faster turnaround times and delivery times. They want cybersecurity and resilience. They want better SLA performance. So once that particular service has been delivered, how do we make sure that service is up 99.9% of the time and that it delivers the quality that is required for that particular service? They want increased connectivity and bandwidth. Without increased connectivity and bandwidth, these citizen requirements here to be able to apply for something, notify, whatever the case may be, can't be possible if government cannot be accessed on the fastest possible broadband in the country. So, Chair, I'm losing my voice a little bit, but Chair, I think the point is clear, which is this is what our clients in the main are looking for. So it's not a matter of not understanding what it is. It's a matter of how we then respond much more effectively to what it is that they're looking for. So what is that approach to digital transformation and as the SITA? Well, the first one is a given. It's around making sure that we run it in a manner that is compliant, where we get clean audits, we are compliant to legislation, to various statutes. We need to ensure that we can radically increase the number of services, e-services that are used by citizens, because that's how they will feel the impact. Many of you may not be aware that SITA has about 100 e-services. In fact, the numbers I'm told is a lot higher than that, but let's take 100 as an example. We've got 100 e-services on our e-government portal that we've partnered with the DCDT to be able to publish. There's about 2.1 million citizens that are signed up for those e-services, but only about 150 to 200,000 are used on a monthly basis. We've got 60 million people in the country. How do we make sure that we can get that utilization as close as possible to the 60 million and even above that? Because it means that the impact that we are making for this particular e-services is much higher, and citizens are feeling the impact of digital transformation where they are in the country. South Africa has one of the highest penetrations in terms of smartphone in Africa. It's quite a high number, and so we can take advantage of that to ensure that we can increase service delivery to our clients where they are. We want to look at unified command centers. I spoke about the Security Operations Center. It fits into that to ensure that we can understand and measure the efficiency of government in the background so that we can increase visibility and show where the bottlenecks are. And once you measure something, there's an old engineering adage to say, to measure is to know. Once you've measured, you know what the issues are, and you can be able to enable those departments to go and fix those bottlenecks because you can be able to see them in real time. So it's about efficiency as well in terms of time and cost. The other thing, Chairperson, is can we get our cost per unit to be on par with industry? In other words, can we get private sector and even public sector signing up for our services as the SITA? Because for me, that is the proof of the pudding, that SOEs start to sign up for services in the SITA because they see that it's got a high value proposition. I've engaged, Chair, with quite a high number of SOEs. I've mentioned CSR, but I haven't mentioned Eskom, Transnet, I haven't mentioned Centec, and the others that we've engaged with to say, can we provide some of these services to you? And what would it take for us to be able to do that? And they gave us those requirements. One of them was around price. One of them was around SLA performance to make sure that those are within the 90th percentile. From a technical perspective, Chair, it's around making sure that we build in a way that is modern, so not in a non-coupled way, in a modular way, if I can summarize it better. We want to de-risk it with short cycle times. So we want to have a very CapEx light approach where we don't have heavy CapEx investment, where we try things in a POC way, would be much more agile so that we understand how we want to deliver. We want to shift more to a consumption-based approach. So we don't want to necessarily provision hardware if someone is looking for an email service. We want to give you an email service and inbox as a service so that we can be able to consume that in a much more consumption-based way. We want to back multiple horses and not just look at one so that we know which one is working and which one is not. And if it's not working, you let it die. The one that is working, invest in that and you make it move faster. So that is the approach from a philosophical perspective, Chair. Now, if you take the various strategies that we've mentioned, if you take those principles that I spoke to now, and then you take that impact statement that the SITA and the mandate that the SITA has, we then create what I call the SITA framework, which is this here. And the SITA framework really summarizes everything that I've said for the last 4 and 5 slides, which is at the bottom there is a given. We must have good corporate governance and compliance to various statutes, regulations, and the like. From an enabler perspective, we must be able to have partnerships that we leverage in the ecosystem that we live in as the SITA, so that we don't just deliver using our own capacity, but we also leverage the investment that has been done in both the public and private sectors. We must up our game with regards to advisory and consulting, which links back to the first presentation, so that we can be seen as much more than just the procurement agent of the state. We are actually an advisor and a consultant to the state when it comes to matters of ICT. We can focus much more on research, innovation, and development. We can have service delivery excellence as a very key thing that enables us to be able to deliver on our mandates. And we can focus on people and skills. Without people and skills, we'll not be able to achieve any of these things that are written here on this slide. And so, Chairperson, the 5 things that we'll then be focusing on going forward are as follows there, as you see in the 5 pillars there at the top. The first one is around a marketplace. How do we ensure that we create a marketplace of e-services for our citizens so that we are delivering government services directly to citizens where they are, in their smartphones, in their kiosks, in other areas where they frequent? How do we make sure that those e-services speak to what they are looking for as citizens? I'll give an example of one that has been very successful in KZN. The e-recruitment service has been very successful. It's been used by more than 200,000 people, and we launched it only in June. So it just goes to show that if we can increase the marketing and visibility of these e-services and make sure that they are available on smartphones, that we can make citizen impact in this financial year, Chair. We also then want to create a marketplace that is speaking to goods and services for our clients, for our departments, so that they can procure in a much more click-to-buy way, a way that is much more akin to how everyone else buys technology in this day and age, so that you're not sitting in a long procurement process that takes 12 months, and by the time that particular thing is delivered, technology has moved on and the requirement has perhaps changed. So that marketplace concept is very critical for us to be able to deliver much faster and much more effectively to the environment. It also means that SMMEs, Chair, can be able to participate, because when you create a marketplace, it becomes multi-sided, and you allow partners, whether they're big or small, to be able to publish their solutions on that marketplace. So even SMMEs can be able to publish solutions and allow them as well to be considered as part of their choice of solutions that our clients can be able to procure. The next one is around cybersecurity. As we know, cybersecurity is a very critical factor. I think much has been said and stated about this. In fact, I spent quite a lot of time on the 1st of May explaining what are some of the challenges in cybersecurity in government. I think at that time I started a report. There was a report that had just come out to say that South Africa was in one of the top 5 worst targeted countries when it comes to cybersecurity challenges in the public sector. So this is something that is quite important for us to be able to respond to. You've seen the Security Operations Center, but we want to grow that, firstly by launching it across a whole range of clients, but also to mature it into a universal command center that can enable us to be able to monitor the operations of government, using those live dashboards. The next one is around testing and certifications. As you move into a marketplace, you need to be able to test and certify every single solution, whether it comes from a big business or an SMME. You need to test it and make sure that it is compliant to various aspects that are needed for that particular solution to work in the public sector. So that is what that part is about, to ensure that those solutions are tested appropriately, they're given the right certification, they're given the right warranties, so that when our clients are procuring those solutions or buying those solutions, they know that these are things that have been quality tested, and they know that they will work according to the parameters in which they were tested in. The next one is around service management. Service management is this, it gives you the service assurance. It's when you've bought the solutions, it ensures that they continue to run, that they meet the SLA performance, that the uptime is around 99.9%. It's about picking how many nines you want after the full stop. It's about making sure that across the entire value chain, we can monitor what the performance of that particular solution is to our citizens and also to our clients. So this becomes something that is very critical. And will be part of the Universal Command Center to enable us to be able to monitor that operation of our various services. The last one is around data and artificial intelligence. And this one is so critical, Chair. And I think sometimes we end up getting caught up in the hype of what is artificial intelligence in terms of the state of the art. But I think one needs to think at a much more basic level. I'd like to give the example of local courts, where most of our people interact with courts. But they don't hear the court proceedings in their own language, nor do they get the proceedings, translated to their mother tongue. This only happens in the higher courts, in the constitutional court and the like. And even they use people to manually translate those particular services. But we have a research unit right here in the University of Pretoria, right here in the University in TUT, that are doing research into machine translation of African languages. So to go from Sesotho to isiZulu to English, it's there. Even machine synthesis, where someone can be speaking in one language in real time, and you can be able to hear with a small delay, the actual words in another mother tongue altogether. That's just one example of where AI can make an impact with regards to government service delivery. If you start to think about AI in healthcare, AI in policing, AI in various other clusters and sectors, one can start to imagine the impact that this can make in enabling us to support service delivery, to support automation, and to make sure that we can digitize a lot faster than what we are right now, Chairperson. And the way that we want to do this, Chair, is in the past, we've tended to want to start with build but we want to turn that on its head and start with leveraging. We live in an ecosystem where people have already invested a great deal in infrastructure, in technology, and in solutions. We want to see how we leverage in a way that is meaningful. And of course, we will test it to make sure that it is compliant to our requirements as government before we buy and before we build. So that is the approach that we'll take, Chair, in terms of scaling these. And all of these, Chair, are about making sure that the impact is, again, those two words that we've been speaking about. Impact at a citizen level, so citizens must feel this digital transformation, and impact at a government level. The last 2 years are around normal business terms, around sustainability and growth. We need to ensure that we are sustainable as a business, not about getting bailouts, but it's about being self-sustaining. And it's also about growth so that we can grow our impact. The Honorable Minister did mention that ICT spend in government is over 100 billion rand, but yet revenue in SITA is about 7 billion. So it shows you that there's still much more impact that can be made by the SITA if we can get our ducks in a row and get our act together. So in terms of who else is following this approach, Chair, I'll summarize here a great deal just because of the sake of time. But the platform economy is the driving factor in the ICT sector globally. More than 70% of all growth in the economy, in the ICT sector, will come from the platform economy. I will skip these, Chair. I'll take them as read. I think the point that I just want to make here is who else is using this model, this approach. And we've looked at various countries. We've looked at Singapore. Singapore is a Singapore government agency, which is the equivalent of the SITA, and then also followed this approach. We looked at the United Kingdom with Crown Commercial Services. And again, they've got a marketplace where every single government department can be able to procure, and it's much faster for them to procure this than what it has traditionally been for us in South Africa. There's others like Australia, like New Zealand. We were in Estonia a month and a half ago with the Deputy Minister, where we looked at the approach by Estonia, and again, very similar to what we are proposing here. And there's other countries there that you can look at as well. The case for Estonia with regards to how they have this citizen impact is to make sure that everything that they do is mobile first. So it starts on the smartphone. It's about government on a smartphone, that it's easy to discover, and they focus on citizen adoption. And these are some of the things that you can see there around e-identity, around health solutions, that speak to healthcare, ease of doing business, education, and the like. You make sure that these things are citizen-facing and are easy to discover by citizens so that you drive up that adoption and you increase the impact. I've already spoken to this, Chair. This one here is just speaking to the validation approach. So how we will know that this is working. Well, the way that we want to follow it is it's about, one, no funding. It's all internally funded. It's about, capital requirements seen as minimal. It's about leveraging of existing investments and skills that we have within our ecosystem. Two, it's about access to the right systems and data across all of government so that we can be able to consolidate those and see where there are duplications. Three, it's about planning to surface existing. There's already a lot of e-services, like I've mentioned. How do we surface them more and make them much more available? Create that awareness for citizens to know that these things are there. You can use them to improve your life in terms of how you interact with government. It's about being consumption-based. So how do you make sure that it's consumption-based and not something that requires heavy capex upfront? It's about involvement of SMMEs. And the way that we involve SMMEs is about no money. It's a risk-based approach. You bring your solution, you publish it in the marketplace, and then you can be able to interact with clients in that particular way. And so one of the outcomes that we are pushing for, Chair, and this is a key point in the next 180 days, is around creating this marketplace for citizens to be able to access these e-services. We want to focus greatly on the awareness, the publicity, and the marketing. And we'll not necessarily have to do it ourselves directly as SITA, but we'll ask for the assistance of the DCDT in increasing awareness for citizens for these e-services. And this speaks to a whole number of solutions that we want to put on that platform. The second one is around this universal command center for government, which is around increasing visibility, increasing efficiency, so that we know what is the bottlenecks or what are the bottlenecks in various government department operations, so that we know how to intervene in a short space of time. So the key focus areas, Chair, is one, SITA is not just about procurement. It's about so much more than just, of course, procurement will always be important, but it's about so much more than just that. It's about ensuring operational performance is in the 90th percentile. It's about making sure that we can revise our business model to be much more self-funded. It's about making sure that services are mobile-facing for citizens. It's about making sure that we can increase government efficiency through that universal command center so that we know where the bottlenecks are. It's about making sure that we can utilize the data that exists in government so that we can support service delivery. And it's about making sure that we focus on cybersecurity. And how do we ensure performance, Chair? So service delivery is still king. All of these things that we mentioned, if it does not perform, it still does not matter. So the approach for us is to be the supplier of choice. That's really what it must be. We must be a supplier of choice for government. We're prepared to earn that right through making sure that we do this. And this is why you'll see that here we want to make sure that our pricing is benchmarked, that our SLAs, our service level agreements are up to standard, up to the 90th percentile as compared to the industry. So those 99.999s that you see in terms of availability, whether it is networks, whether it is connectivity. And it's also about measuring penalties. Penalties are an incentive or disincentive rather that the private sector uses to ensure that you can improve your service. So if your service is poor, your penalties that you pay must be high. But if your service is excellent, your penalties must be low. And it's also a way of assuring clients that we are indeed providing the service that we're providing at the required level. It's about standardization. So how do we make sure that we limit the variation of various architectures within government? It's about monitoring and ITSM, so the service level agreements, making sure that they are proliferating across all of government and we can standardize how we deliver that. So the explicit value derivation, Chair, is about making sure that we increase utilization, that we can move to a much more consumption-based model, so pay as you use, so no heavy CapEx investment for clients. So how do I buy an inbox as opposed to installing an email server, etc., and starting to to maintain that infrastructure? And then lastly, around self-funding, we want to do all of this in a way that is self-funded. And so we believe that if these things can be achieved, then we know that the plan is starting to work. If we are not asking for money, that performance is improving, and it's a self-funded model. So lastly, Chair, and I think this is the last slide, which speaks to then how do we then repurpose SITA? And it turns out, Chair, that the mandate had actually been correct from the very beginning. It's about public, it's about security, and it's about government efficiency. And so our role is to repurpose SITA back to its original mandate. Where the path had been lost was moving more and more into a procurement agency and losing the essence of focusing on public, focusing on government efficiency, and doing so in a secure manner. That is the challenge. So our challenge, Chair, is not to come up with something new and radical per se, but it's about making sure that we can increase the importance and impact of these three factors in the way that we deliver services as SITA to both our clients, the citizens, and also to government departments to increase their efficiency. I think that is the last slide, Chair. I'm going to pause here. I know that's a lot, so I will pause here and maybe hand it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, MT, and the board, the Minister. I really thank you for the presentation. I would now, without further waste of time, invite members who would want to engage with the presentation, taking everything into account. Committee support would also assist me to identify members that I may be leaving behind. I see the Honorable Botlani's hand. We'll proceed with you in the meantime, for us to identify other hands if there are still any. The Honorable Botlani can proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I think, firstly, just to thank the MD for a very informative, very elaborate presentation, which speaks to the state of SITA. But perhaps, Chairperson, before I get to the presentation and the contents thereof, for me, the elephant in the room, it is what is unfolding currently at SITA, where we have seen that the Public Servants Association has threatened a full-blown strike. And if we could address that perhaps so that we get it out of the way, so that we know where management is in terms of finding each other with the union, because everything that the MD has spoken about hinges on the workers. So I don't know, you will direct me on that one, Chairperson.
Honorable Bodlani, I think that's a matter that the management and probably the department and the ministry want to speak to. Can do that because in that first part, like we said, it's also to take the committee into confidence on matters of public interest, which this would also be one, to give assurance, like you are saying, that the plans would be able to be implemented. I think they would have noted that point. If that could be something you keep, Minister and your team will indicate how you respond to that. But that would not prevent you, Honorable Bodlani, from getting to the other points so that the response then gets comprehensive.
Thank you so much, Chairperson, for your guidance. I really appreciate it. Chairperson, I think what we have heard this morning from the MD is literally a restructuring of a culture, philosophical practices of SITA as we know it. And it is exactly the sort of fresh ideas that SITA needs to have if it is to really claim its market share as an IT leader in industry leader. And we really hope that these things that the MD has spoken to can really be seen to fruition, because for me, this presentation is a presentation that should be made to every stakeholder of SITA, so that anybody and everybody who has any association with SITA gets to have an appreciation of what SITA is. The MD has spoken about how SITA has been seen as just a procurement mechanism, but not necessarily as the government IT. So if we get to that point where stakeholders just do not see SITA as a way to procurement, then we would have achieved what SITA is meant to do. Then SITA would be a great entity. I want to go back to the comments by the Auditor General, who uses the word regression and stagnant in giving the qualified audit to SITA. And couple that with the comments of the MD, who says they try to address and incorporate the comments of the Auditor General. But the sense I get from his commentary is that the goals of the AG seems like a moving target. When they achieve one thing and then the operating practices then change. I'm not sure if that's how I understood him, that if we could just clarify that and what that means for future audit reports. And I think we note that for the 2022-2023, there has been a 44% target achieved, and that we take with everything that has been made in terms of the MD's presentation this morning, to say we would love to see SITA perform higher. And the MD came to the portfolio committee and spoke about his 100-day plan. And I would be the first to say the plan really looks good on paper, but this should be translated in achieving higher targets in the next financial year. The MD also spoke about SITA not being able to fill positions. And this takes me back to what the chairperson of MDDA was speaking about last week, where they were saying they were also re-advertising because they could not find suitable people. What does this mean for the IT sector? If we are going to then say there is no talent, that SITA's reputation, people do not want to be associated with that. And I do appreciate that the MD has made immediate interventions in his presentation. But this is a state company that really should be the pride of government in terms of IT. But if we are not going to then attract people who would want to be associated, especially after the interview process, that is my biggest worry. For one to apply, come for an interview, but after the interview process where you are supposed to make an appointment, the person turns and says, no, I am not gonna sign or take the job offer. What is missing? What can be done to improve that situation? And Chairperson, the AG also spoke about accounting standards not being applied properly. I think SITA we saw on our oversight visit that it has a young workforce. But if we are going to then have people, especially at executive level, where we are still going to get the Auditor General saying the standards not applied properly, it takes me back to my question. Are we saying that the Auditor General's expectations keep moving, hence we will then be receiving the audit outcome that we are receiving? I am really lost in terms of that one. And we do appreciate that the Auditor General has recommended the refresher course for GREP training, and I do hope that that will be done. The biggest issue, and I think that also sums up the presentation of the MD, is the 54% in terms of customer satisfaction. This, for me, I wish it could have been higher. It would speak to then SITA being a trusted service provider in terms of government IT services. But at 54%, that means that there is a real gap, there is a reputational issue, there is possibly a service issue. But for me, it speaks to the need to broaden the stakeholder engagement. And I do welcome the presentation made by the MD to say there has been a roadshow and everything else, but perhaps just to say there has to be a deliberate process to intensify those attempts so that the low rating by clients, as we have seen, there can be just an improvement. What I would have also liked to see an emphasis on is more on the timelines of everything that has been spoken about, in terms of how, and I do appreciate that it's a living document, it's a living plan, but just so that at least we know also as a portfolio committee how to measure the promises and the obligation, the promises that the MD has made to the portfolio committee. I will stop there for now, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Bodlani. Are there other members who want to engage the presentation? Committee support will then assist
Mr. Mlala, Chairperson.
Oh, Honorable Mlala, you are recognized.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and good morning to my colleagues, the Minister and the Deputy, and everybody on the platform. I think maybe let me first welcome the presentation by the MD. I think thus far, all the presentation that the MD has made are quite impressive. There might just be one or two issues that I need to check on, because I think the real assessment will be made in the next financial year under the current leadership, both the board and the the team that is led by MD. But I wanted to check with the MD in terms of change management. What is his assessment since he has arrived, and is quite presenting quite good and hopeful presentations. And in terms of implementation, I think thus far there is some progress. But I just wanted to check with him in his own assessment in terms of change management. The second issue is that in the presentation, the MD emphasized the citizens first approach, which for me is a good thing. But I'm quite concerned about the level of communication to the very same citizens that is referring to. How much do they know about these initiatives that is taking, particularly in establishing apps for the cell phones that majority of South Africans do have? So I would want also the MD to indicate in terms of the public relations, because if you say citizens first, then citizens must be the first to know whatever new programs that SITA is implementing. And then the last issue would be about the recent strikes that are at SITA. I think as a committee, we should be concerned that yes, the presentation indicates that the strike is about salaries, but when you assess what is written on the placards in those strikes, they are telling a different story altogether. Now, I don't want necessarily the MD to get into the political space, but administratively, if the MD can just take us through the process, because possibilities are that they will then engage the political principles about the politics around the strike. But administratively, it will be quite important just to take the portfolio committee on board, so that how far is the strike, what are the issues, are they addressing those issues, and how far are they in terms of addressing those issues? I think those are just my 3 questions. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mlala. As we hand over to the Minister at the board, and
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I have requested that the chair of the board deal with the issue of strike, but I'm sure honorable members will understand, whilst it's a matter of public interest, the committee is entitled to an update. But there is a limitation to which extent we can deal with the matter because of a number of its, the nature of itself. Because you do not want to make comments here which gets translated in the negotiating table. But I think an update will assist. I thought it's important just to know. We'll be reluctant to go deep to the details of this, but to update where things are, what is the demand, and how we're engaging. I will request the chairperson to deal with that, and maybe the MD will respond to other issues, if you so indulge, Honorable Chair.
just before that, Honorable Bodlani.
Chairperson, could the response also perhaps give us an indication on what mitigation is being done to ensure that services are provided, just so that at least we know that South Africans are not compromised? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. As we give to the board.
That we will also respond to that.
Chair.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, the main issues, as we understand it, is primarily about salary. The process started where the PSA, on behalf of staff, requested 12%, and SITA was offering 3%. the PSA's demand has dropped from 12% down to 7%, and SITA's offer has moved up from 3% up to 5%, so there's a 2% differential. SITA's got approximately 3,300 people. About 900 people are potentially affected in terms of this particular strike action. The discussions are still ongoing because we would like to open up discussions in respect of multi-year agreements so that we don't have to go through this process again in the future. From an operational perspective, there's been no impact. We've tried to make sure there's no impact in terms of our customers. So we have our business continuity plans in preparation for the strike action. They were taken down, they were reviewed, they were updated and subsequently implemented. We have daily checks, in fact, hourly checks in terms of progress on our systems. Any alerts, there's been no impact in terms of our customers and no service disruptions. And that's where we stand at the moment. I think we are still ongoing with briefing staff. There are 2 briefing sessions with staff later today. And we also having discussions direct with labor as well to see how we can close those particular gaps of understanding, looking at other trade-off opportunities and the like. Thank you, Chair.
Just a minute.
Chair, for the remaining.
Sorry, KP. I just want to reinforce the point that negotiation is what we're going to continue to encourage as a department in this regard. But you can proceed, Chair, with the MD to answer other questions.
The MD.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'll answer the questions. I'll start with the questions from Honorable Botlani. I think she was making a comment on the positions. Let me start with that one, and I think expressing concern on being able to attract the right level of skill into the SITA environment. And Honorable Botlani, I think we share the same concern. I don't think we can undermine that. And I don't think that it is something that can be changed overnight either. It is something that we are managing with the board. I've raised it many times to say our EXCO skill level needs to be significantly increased, and we need to make sure that we get the right level of expertise into this organization. It is an ICT organization and needs to be primarily about ICT skills and skilling. The people that have skills in the 5 forces that I presented, marketplaces, data and AI, cybersecurity, testing and certifications, these are all skills that exist in the country. So it's not about them not being there. It's about changing perceptions and the mindset and the image that the SITA portrays into the market. So we have to do a lot more to be able to change that mindset, Honorable Botlani. We have started with those efforts. I've made many pleas in many of my interviews to attract skills and to come into the market. So I think it is something that will eventually win, but it will not be easy. I think once there's a fair number of critical mass that have come into the EXCO, they will also be able to attract their own skills into the market because everyone comes with a network. And that in that way, over time, it will start to gain traction. So I think, Honorable Botlani, it's not so unusual that in the beginning, it's a bit painful. It is difficult. It was difficult for me to make the decision to come to SITA, so I expect that it would be for anyone else. But I think once there's critical mass, it will become a lot easier. So I think we are just in that beginning phase where we have to climb the mountain, and eventually that cliff or the slope will become a lot less steep and allow us to attract more people at a faster rate. So that's one. And I must say that at the lower levels, we have been able to, as I've mentioned, get more aggressive campaigns for people to come in and help us to deliver. Last time, if you remember, I made mention of the SITA in Cape Town, where we've brought in 100, 50 were graduates, and then the rest were interns, that came in, which is starting to see some renewal. And you've seen that some of the clients in the Western Cape we're quite happy. So it is something that we are doing from all levels, at the bottom and at the top, but it is not easy. I think with regards to the culture elements that you mentioned, yes, I think again we can't understate that.
there definitely needs to be a culture that is akin to what is out there in the market with some of the top tech companies or companies that exist in the country. SITA is not that yet, but we are determined to make it that. If you look at even our buildings, the way things are compared to where you'd walk into if you work for pick your favorite company, we're not on par yet. So these are part of the things that speak of the culture and the smell of the place that affect how people behave at a subconscious level. So it is something that we have to address. Culture issues are very critical. They are not unimportant, less than. They are as important as the hard things that we are doing, Chair and Honorable Botlani, which is why we've launched those culture campaigns and are trying our best to make sure that we can communicate a positive culture right from the top, from the board to Exco and all of management. So I'm answering this in this way, Honorable Botlani, to say we acknowledge the comment and concern, and it won't be something we can turn over overnight, but it is something that we are working on. You spoke about the client trust and mitigations. I think you're referring to the client satisfaction survey where we got 56%. Indeed, Honorable Botlani, that is a big challenge. When I joined, I remember when I joined in the first month, I'd received something like 12 escalations from clients in that first month alone. Since then, I've received a lot more escalations from clients, which is why we've responded by establishing the structures that I mentioned, like a client exco, to help us to manage much more effectively and to hold people accountable to ensuring that we can, resolve the client issues that have been raised. So again, Honorable Botlani, it's about bringing back that culture of client centricity, and that is not something that we can do overnight. One has to deliver and show delivery in a consistent way, and then clients will begin to believe and come back. I've never engaged with a single client of SITA, Honorable Chair, where there were issues and those issues could not be resolved in an amicable time. It has not happened yet. We're yet to face a case like that. So it does show that clients are willing to engage and place trust in the SITA. They've just been disappointed many times in the past because of various issues that we cannot get into at this stage. The next one, I think that Honorable Botlani mentioned around the AG's plans, the moving targets. I'll invite the CFO to come in through you, Chair, after I'm done here. But the fault is not with the AG, Honorable Botlani. The fault is with us. We did not address the root causes. If it was a matter of we've had the right systems in place, all the processes are there, the documentation is there, in other words, all our controls are in place, and we still have this issue, then we might be able to make a case to say the AG is a bit unfair, and there are processes in place anyway to lodge a dispute with the AG. So that is not the case. I cannot sit here and honestly say most of the issues are with the AG. Most of the issues are with us, and therefore we have to own up to them and be able to resolve them. And so the plan that you see is about us owning up to the fact that we did not address the issues at a root cause level. And that's why we had those repeat findings. So the plan there is saying we want to address issues at a root cause level. The only challenge that I can see is with respect to time, because with audits that are made, and finalized late, you then have less time to be able to implement all of your plans. That is the only thing that I would worry about. But in terms of us understanding the root causes, we understand them and we are busy addressing them. And we've got the right monitoring structures in place, including at board level, to help us to monitor those plans. Honorable Molala mentioned comments around change management. And I think change management was perhaps speaking mostly to an employee level. So in other words, is there resistance to change from various employees and the like, as we bring in new thinking, fresh thinking, and how to make SITA like a technology company, act, look, feel, and behave like a technology company. And I must say, I think it's in a similar way. There are no easy answers where one can simply, flick their fingers or click their fingers and be able to change things overnight. It takes a concerted effort to be able to engage employees, to bring them on board with what it is that we're aspiring to do. I've met with employees in the Western Cape. I've met with employees in the Eastern Cape. I've met with employees at both our offices in KZN. I've met with employees in Gauteng. And We have plans to meet with employees across all of our other remaining offices as well, to try and have these conversations, to try and break this challenge around change management and reduce the distance between the very top of the organization with the lowest level of employee. And again, I can say every single one of those conversations have never gone to a point where we did not find each other with employees. There were tough engagements, they were difficult. Employees raised their challenges and concerns, and many times which were valuable and valid. But we've always managed to find each other and leave the employees with a great deal of excitement. So again, Honorable Malala, I think the change management issues is being addressed. That is why we are running the culture plan, but also I'm having these employee engagement sessions. I made a commitment when I joined to say, I wish I could meet every single one of the 3,000 plus employees in SITA in some way, shape or form. So that is why we have to deal with that one. It's not easy, it's not overnight, but we are dealing with it. The last comment from Honorable Malala speaks to communications to citizens, especially because we are saying in repurposing SITA, we want to take it back to its original mandate, which is speaking to public, that is citizens, government efficiency, and cybersecurity. And so what we've been focusing on thus far is really on the one side, which is focusing on government departments. We have not had a focus on the citizen side of things. We need to up that significantly, Honorable Malala. So we do acknowledge that. We've done a lot in the last 6 months in terms of publicity and speaking to both the public and our government departments. But a lot more needs to be done, especially in directing citizens to use the services that have already been published by the SITA so that they can access government services in a more effective way. The way that we want to do it is we don't necessarily want to be the front runner of it as SITA. It is not necessarily a mandate to do public relations and to do marketing and advertising. We want to use the departments that are there, and we do have a shareholder department in the DCDT that can assist us in making sure that that word goes out there. And so this is something that between myself and the DG, we already agreed to put a plan in place to say, how do we increase the usage of these e-services by citizens? There are also other stakeholder departments like DPSA and the like that are also very supportive that can help us in getting the word out there. So in other words, we want to use the machinery of government that is already there to put the word out, because SITA will not be equipped sufficiently to be able to do it on its own. So that is the plan that we're working on in the background, Honorable Malala, that we want to drive in terms of increasing that publicity from a citizen perspective. Through your chair, I'm going to invite the CFO just to speak in more detail around the audit-related issues, around the AG audit and the concerns that were raised, the accounting standards, GRAP not being followed, and the like. Through you, Chair.
Can I go, Chair?
Can proceed, CFO.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members, Minister, all protocol observed. Chair, in addition to what the MD's response on the audit findings and specifically on whether the AG is moving the goalpost, definitely, I think he addressed it quite well. They are not moving the goalpost. We just want to make sure that as part of the audit action plan, that the way we record our information and the way we have our business processes, that they're dynamic enough to enable us to be able to respond to the AG's request within the timeline that they provide, within the 3 days that they provide to respond to the findings. So we want to make sure that, irrespective of how and the information is requested by the AG, we will be able to respond timelessly, irrespective also of the volume of information that might be requested. We'll also be workshopping the plan in detail with the AG. In fact, we've already started the engagement with the AG as we're preparing the plan that is being presented, but we are planning more detailed engagements with them just to ensure that what we'll be doing will be sufficient enough to be able to move the goalpost and to also address some of the root causes going forward as well. On the training, we will be continuing with the training on the various audit and accounting standards, just to make sure that we have refreshed all the officials involved and we can really manage the smaller issues that arises during the audit processes. But Chair, we are definitely confident that the way we've done the plan this time around, with the focusing on the root causes, we'll be able to achieve the expected results. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO. I take it that board chair and your team, you are done in terms of responses. The minister would have indicated earlier on that probably may come back on some issues.
No,
I
not
just want to check if he still wants to come back or is now adequately covered. You are now muted.
you're calling me, Chair.
Yes, Minister,
No.
I'm checking.
No, thank you. No. Thank you, Chair. That's what we had hoped to share with the committee, and of course, an update on an ongoing basis is going to happen. We want to see difference in as far as e-service is concerned. You heard the MD speaking about the potential of 60 million interaction a day, yet we're talking about 150,000. A plan to turn that around, and a need to the digital technology to lead in the transformation of this country. And we hope with the people at our disposal and succeeding to recruit those the MD are trying to actually negotiate with, we'll get somewhere. And nothing more, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Minister and the team, as well as the honorable members for the questions that they would have asked. I hope I'm still audible, because on my side it's like frozen.
No, you're audible.
Thank you.
You are audible, but no, I can't see your photo, but you're audible, Chair.
Okay. Like I said, it was freezing on my side, so I just thought I should refresh it a bit. Thanks, Minister. I think that's the point I was making, and as well as the team for taking us through these issues of governance and performance at SITA. I've also thanked honorable members for the questions asked, which helps to further clarify the matters on the table. I think from the presentation, there's better clarity that the commitments that were made in May are now beginning to show results from the side of SITA. So can only encourage you to continue in that trajectory of changing things for the better, as seen on the plans. We should also appreciate that the minister has made a commitment or giving assurance to the committee that the people that have been put in the board are professionals, if I were to use his words. And I take it that the implication of it is people will be able to do the oversight because they understand the space that they are doing oversight on. And for that reason, we should have improvement. But I must also say that as we do it with caution, Minister, that you would keep your eye to that. Because sometimes there's a tendency that when you put professionals together with the oversight body and the implementers, there tends to be that problem where you think you can do it yourself when you are supposed to actually monitor that it gets done. So we already have that sense in one entity, because I had written a formal letter at that time when we picked up something in the newspapers that sometimes you want to do it yourself because you think it should be done, but it shouldn't be. Because once it's professionals and they understand those roles, slowly SITA will be at another level. Because those who do oversight also could not be misled. And I'm saying misled, Minister, because in your absence, we have raised this point when we're dealing with Postbank. That from the report of the current CEO, it was clear that for 2 consecutive years in terms of APPs, were given unrealistic targets. And those that do oversight, they've approved that. That should be a problem. So I'm saying we really appreciate that we bring people who understand the space, but that the roles are quite clear so that we have progress. Of course, there will always be unavoidable tensions from people who know the space better. But those unavoidable tensions in the main should be about how best we move forward, not the regression. So we really appreciate that, learning also from the other entities what could be done better in that regard. The automation, Honorable Minister and the team, it's also appreciated. We take it that at the level at which you are taking it to now, where both clients as well as internally, you'd be able to use technology to trace the supply chain questions. But we also want that to be taken to another level, that automation can give us the realization of an open tender system where the citizens, where the business that puts these tenders could see it from entry to the final decision using the same technology available to a point that it helps indeed in the building of the brand. Because if professionals at an executive level do not want to associate themselves with an important state entity like SITA because of the damage of the past, the corruption and so on, it's something we should really work on and give confidence to South Africans that you would really want to be in this state agency if you are in that sector because of how it is changing things. But as I say again, it will also to assure South Africans that processes are competitive, but more importantly, they are transparent, and you would know the decisions as they are taken and why you would have not been awarded a particular contract. So if we can, as we work where we are, I think we appreciate, but it should also be about going into the future, making sure that the idea of an open tender that is also open to the public to be able to see it's realized in that score. So work on those would really appreciate. But I must also say, from where one is sitting, having listened to the board chair, again, a commitment that it is not about bringing in new strategies, but it is about ensuring the implementation of those. Of course, with material conditions that are changing from time to time, there will be tweaking here and there in a way that helps it to be better implemented. Again, Honorable Minister, we are talking to this from our experience, that at a particular time, the ministry made an intervention by putting a caretaker executive. And at that time, we warned that all these things that are happening, the problem is that if there is no transition management between that leadership, that's an intervention, and a board that will be put in. And I know at that time there was an interim board that was introduced that will probably have regression, and at least history does prove that that if it is not managed, indeed that's what has happened. Because at that time of intervention, SITA was taken from 25% to almost 75%. We have that situation now. From what has been presented to us, the performance is at this point around 64, 65, with intentions of getting to around 80s to 100 as the board chair would have presented. So that assurance gets to be quite important, that sometimes time is spent more on bringing in new ideas instead of implementing anything that could have been on the table, which has been said to be working. So one really appreciates on behalf of the committee that at least as we do our oversight, we will not make reference to something else when the board is actually trying to bring something else that they think would work. And this is also has been the experience with strategies in other entities that are now struggling within the portfolio. One board comes and say, look, you can keep this together. The other will say separation and so on. And we are in problems in some of them today. So with that, Honorable Minister and your team, it's really to strengthen the point, not really to introduce new things as committee recommendations, except to say, take it to the other level. At least there's evidence that it can be done if all of us are focused. Of course, with regard to the strike, we really want to see speedy resolution so that services are not compromised. We can get everybody else on board in implementing this plan, and we're confident that you yourselves, both the entity and the department where it needs to give support, that would be done to ensure that the matters are speedily resolved. And this also then talks to what Honorable Mlala referred to as other matters that get raised in the form of placards. It's a known thing that in a case where people talk about salaries, they also get an opportunity to raise political matters that they want to raise, or any dissatisfaction they have, but writing on the issue of bargaining matters. We hope that we can also make that separation, that the focus will be to resolve those, but if there are matters that get raised that affect the work at that level, those would also receive attention in appropriate platforms to handle them. So with that, honorable members, if there are no follow-up questions from yourselves, I would say this would be the summary of the discussions thus far, and that would probably be the way forward from our meeting. Having clarified in the beginning with regard to the reports that the committee would be considering next week as they are deferred from this meeting as explained. Is there any member who would say, sorry, Chair, this clarity is needed so that you don't say you wanted to say it here and I couldn't give you the chance? So there's none that I see on my side.
Chairperson?
The Honorable Majosi.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. Are you giving me an opportunity? I can't raise my hand. I don't know what's happening with my icons.
Yes, Honorable Majosi, I've recognized you in case you are saying there's a matter that's left and you wanted to raise your hand like you are saying you couldn't. Surely the minister would understand and the team, and if they need to respond, they would. Honorable Majosi.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to all honorable members, the Minister and SITA. Excuse my voice, I have a very terrible flu. But Chairperson, I just wanted to check, it's not necessarily a question, but because I sit also in the portfolio committee on police, and the reason that they can't go digital, and it is because they are blaming that SITA is the one that should be providing that service for them not to be recording cases manually and so forth. So I just wanted to check with SITA if they do know of that engagement, or that maybe they do have an agreement with the Department of Police that they are providing that service. And if so, I just wanted to get that clarity, Chairperson, because we always get a comment that SITA is the one that should be providing the services of them moving to digital, but they are not, the services are not rendered. That's all, Chairperson. Thanks.
I take it to be quite a straightforward question, Honorable Minister, which could be responded by SITA.
Thank you. Let's ask either Chair or MD to deal with that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Minister. If I may proceed, I will respond to that.
Proceed, please.
Thank you very much. Indeed, Honorable Majosi did meet with General Masemola last month. We discussed a whole range of issues, including the case management solution. So we managed to resolve the issues there, or at least the issues of clarification. One of the things that we did promise him is to come back to him with a proposal of how to fast track the delivery and implementation of that solution, but it's something that is part of what I will be doing with him. So we are in constant communication, Honorable Chair, but it is something that I'm aware and we did address in person. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a response, Honorable Machozi, but like I summarized, Honorable members, that will then be our way forward and conclusion on this item. And as I said, the other items, which are committee items, would also be handling those by Tuesday next week. As you'd know, that in the main, Tuesday was about starting our discussions on the SAPO amendment bill. So we'll have those items loaded for the meeting just for formal adoption of BRRR. With that having been said, I take it that that was the only item, Achira?
That's correct, Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you, honorable members, and thank you, Minister, for honoring our meeting and your team. The meeting stays adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Slalo Siabulel.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Makosonge.
Ezekiel, order.